Today, we're diving into something that feels, well, just plain wrong at first. It's called the paradox of choice. And it comes from some fascinating research by experts like Alexander Chernov over at Northwestern University. The core idea? That one of the most basic rules we follow in business, that more is always better, might actually be holding you back.
So let me just ask you straight up. Are you giving your customers too much of a good thing? I mean, we all want to give them everything they could possibly want, right? More features, more colors, more options. But what if that very effort, what if that's actually costing you sales? What if all that choice is just leading to, well, no choice at all? It just seems like common sense, doesn't it? The more things you offer, the better your chances are that a customer finds that perfect thing. It's why supermarkets have those endless aisles and why every product seems to be customizable these days. But as we're about to see, the actual science, the hard data, tells a completely different story. And honestly, it's way more interesting.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to start by shattering this more is better myth. And we're going to do it with a classic study that every single person in business needs to know about. It all starts with something you'd find in any kitchen: jam. Okay, so picture this. Researchers set up a tasting booth for jam in a grocery store. On one day, they roll out this incredible display with 24 different kinds of jam. On another day, they offer just 6. Now, at first glance, the huge display was a massive success. 60% of shoppers who walked by stopped to look. The smaller display? Only 40%. So, case closed, right? More is better. Well, not so fast. And here is the punchline. Look at this. Of all the people who stopped at that giant 24 jam display, only 3%, actually bought a jar. Now look at the little table with just 6 jams. 30% of the people who stopped there walked away with a jar of jam. That is a tenfold increase in sales. The lesson here is so important. Just because you can attract a crowd doesn't mean you can make a sale. This whole jam experiment is the perfect example of something psychologists call choice overload. You know that feeling, right? You're scrolling through Netflix for an hour and you just give up and go to bed. That's choice overload. Instead of feeling empowered by all the options, our brains just freeze. We get paralyzed, and the easiest thing to do is just walk away. And you better believe this is not just about jam. It happens everywhere. Take 401k plans. Studies have shown that if a company offers just 2 funds to choose from, you get about 75% of employees signing up. But what happens when companies offer, say, 60 different funds? Participation drops all the way down to 60%. Think about that. Giving people more choices made them less likely to save for their own retirement. So what is going on here? What's actually happening in our brains that makes us short circuit like this? Let's peel back the layers and look at the psychology of it all. It really comes down to a battle raging inside your customer's mind. See, on one hand, having a lot of choices feels good. It gives us a sense of freedom, of control. We think, oh, with all these options, I'm definitely going to find the perfect one. But there's a dark side. Each new option adds mental work. You have to compare more things, make more trade-offs. And worst of all, the more options there are, the bigger that fear of regret gets. That little voice in your head whispering, did you pick the right one? Maybe that other one was better. So what this means is that the link between choice and happiness isn't a straight line that just goes up and up. It's actually an inverted U. Yet it goes up for a bit. A few choices are better than no choices. But then it hits a peak. And after that, with every new option you add, satisfaction actually starts to go down. The goal for your business, the real sweet spot, is finding the very top of that curve. Okay, so that's choice overload from a single complex decision. But what happens when we have to make decision after decision after decision all day long? Well, that leads us to something similar, but frankly even more dangerous. It's called decision fatigue. It's like your brain is a muscle and it's running out of gas. If you want to see just how serious this is, look no further than a courtroom. Researchers analyzed over 1,000 parole hearings, and what they found is just staggering. A prisoner's fate had less to do with their crime and more to do with what time of day it was. If their case was heard first thing in the morning, when the judges were fresh, they had about a 65% chance of getting parole. But as the day went on, as the judges made one mentally draining decision after another, that number started to fall. And by the end of the session, right before lunch or before going home for the day, the chances of getting parole dropped to nearly 0. Their brains were just done. The easiest, safest decision was to just say no. The implications of that are absolutely massive. So let's just make sure we're crystal clear on the difference here. Choice overload is about one specific, complicated decision, like picking a jam. Decision fatigue is the cumulative effect of making a whole bunch of decisions, big or small. And here's the kicker. Choice overload might make you not buy jam, but decision fatigue can actually spill over and weaken your willpower in totally unrelated parts of your life. Here's a perfect everyday example. Researchers had one group of people memorize a 2-digit number and another group memorize a 7-digit number, which takes way more mental energy. Then they offered them a snack, either chocolate cake or fruit salad. The people who had to work harder, the ones with a little bit of decision fatigue, they were way more likely to pick the cake. When your customer's brain is tired, it's not looking for the best choice. It's looking for the easiest one. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. We understand choice overload and decision fatigue. Now what? How do we actually fix this? The answer is to stop thinking of yourself as just a seller and start thinking of yourself as a choice architect. You're designing the experience. So here is your playbook. First, and this might feel scary, reduce your options, curate your collection, be an expert guide. Just look at Costco. They thrive with only about 4,000 products, while a typical Walmart has over 120,000. Second, streamline the decision. Make it easier to compare. Robert Mondavi changed the wine game by putting the grape, like Merlot, on the label, turning a scary decision into a simple one. Third, help your customers figure out what they want before they even see the options. A good salesperson does this naturally by asking questions. You can build that right into your website. And finally, for really complex stuff, provide a default. A smart, most popular, or recommended option can be a lifesaver for a tired brain and can boost your conversions like crazy. So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. Are you just a seller of products? Or are you an architect of choices? Because your real job isn't just to put stuff on a shelf. It's to design an entire environment where your customers can feel confident, clear, and happy about their decisions. And when you nail that, you're not just making things easier for them. You're building a way, way more successful business for yourself.